like quote unquote souvenirs from that and everything.
Well, I still have his Mosin Nagant and his Mauser.
Oh wow.
And those two were in World War II. He wasn't in World War II, he was in Korean, but he used those in the Korean War. So they've been in 2 wars.
Warriors, World War II and wow, Cece. And thanks, Scott. Scott says he hopes everything gets better. I know it can be kind of dire to come in on
How
that.
is he in the Civil War and World War II?
It's
okay.
easy to, it's like me, I don't know dates or any of that stuff. No, you're not. No, I'm the same way. Like I couldn't even tell you what my grandfather went through and stuff, and he's probably told me a few times, but he was a little off toward the end there, so.
One of my friends was in the Army not too long ago, and he got shot in the shoulder.
Oh, man. Yeah, again, warriors.
He still has that body armor because they can't give it back, or the Army won't take it back because it's been damaged.
Sure, makes sense.
But he's like, I can still use it.
Wow. Again, warriors. Veterans are warriors, man. I don't even know. But all right, so I've started recording. We're going to get started on our content. So when we do that, I'm going to tell you guys to please have a notebook. And hey, Aiden, you didn't have to get us on class time today. What?
Wow.
Right?
Pat
Usually
on
he
the
does.
back.
Usually he does. He's our taskmaster. I love it. But what we're doing now.
I shouldn't be.
Right. But you're good at it. You're so good. So what we're doing now is we are working with equation solving. And we've already done multi-step equations, variables on both sides, 2-step equations, all that good stuff. So if equation solving is kind of tough for you, let me know and we can schedule some time to work together and I can just make sure you're good to go. But if not, then these lessons, should be good. But also new people, I am going to be putting in there for this week an orientation into how to use Math Excel. It's just really brief, really small. And also like an introductions assignment, just so I can get to know you guys. So yeah, if you have already done those assignments, then I'll take them off so you don't have to worry about it. So all right, so we today are going to solve for a variable. We're going to rearrange equations to do that. We're going to talk about squares and square roots and absolute value equations. Obviously, my recommendation is to write it down. And if you know what you're doing, please contribute and help us write on the board and stuff, because the more you guys respond, the quicker we get through it. So this is what's due this week. There are 4 assignments. New people, you will have an extra 2 added, but I can put them on so they're due like next week or something. Give you a little time. But they're very quick. They're just getting to know you, all that stuff. Because I am nosy. I need to know about everybody. I do. That's my favorite part about teaching online. I am. I need to know all your business. Tell me. Okay.
You're not going to ask about my garbage, are you?
Your garbage? Oh, no. That's Amy's thing.
Okay, yeah, just don't worry. Don't worry about her.
Yeah.
One person telling me to look through garbage.
Nope, that's Amy's thing. That's not me. Yeah, we have English teacher who she is just so creative and amazing with her lessons that she does, and she has a garbage themed unit. So.
Don't be surprised if your trash dumpster looks like it's been searched through, because she's been there.
Ooh.
She's double checking your work to make sure you got the right amount of plastic written down.
Oh man. She's good.
She told us she was going over to her mom's to look through her garbage.
And you know what? I believe it, just because she would do that. She's hilarious. When I brought my kids to a meeting once, she was playing games with my daughter, and she's just so cool. Cool person. I love who I work with, guys. They're the best. Okay, anyway. Amy is coming to town. Amy. She's awesome. Okay, so let's review squares really quickly. Guys, when I say something squared, like 3 squared, what is that? What would you say for the first part here? If it says 3 squared, what does that mean? Either what it means or what it is.
I'm looking for there it is.
Yeah,
Like,
3 times 3.
For what it divides by itself?
Well,
I mean,
no.
like,
I
Go
didn't mean
ahead.
to make it that big.
like, kind of like for 4, like, square, that basically 2 times 2 is 4. So it's basically any number times itself equals that one.
Right. You got it. Very good. So this 3 squared is what everybody kind of said there. It's 3 times 3. Very good. And what is 3 times 3?
9.
9. So you're figuring out what is that number times itself. The exponent tells you how many times you're multiplying, and the base tells you what number you're actually multiplying. What about negative 3 squared? What would that be?
-9 maybe? I don't know.
You'd think so. It's very close. It's the same idea. But we are also going -3 times -3.
So
and
would
what's
it
that?
be +9?
+9. Very good. So the important thing here is when you're squaring a number, positive or negative, you're going to get the same answer.
Oh wait, I forgot I have an entire like number pad here.
Yeah. No, you guys are doing good. I like all the snowmen. Snow math. Very good.
Don't mention snow. I already had to plow my driveway once.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, what you guys are saying, the opposite of squaring something is square rooting. So if we took square root of 9, we would get 3, but technically we could also get what number?
-3.
-3, yeah, very good. You could get a positive or a negative when you square something, and you guys will have to kind of keep that in mind today. When you square something, there's only one answer, but when you square root it, there could be 2. So keep that in mind. That's kind of the premise of what we're doing today. Oh, microbeads like in face washes and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that what it
they're
is?
big
Yeah.
no-no according to Amy.
Oh yeah, there's lots of bad stuff about that. There was something in
If
on
she finds that in
Facebook.
your garbage, she'll try to burn it the safest way she can.
Oh my gosh.
And you'll get an F minus.
Wow. She's very I love that. But
If
there's
she
some,
sees any plastic, she will give you an F minus.
I have plastic right here.
and why is that? Why is that bad?
Plastic is bad.
Because plastic is bad for turtles, I guess.
Plastic
Bad
is
for the
bad.
ocean. Of overrunning the ocean, killing coral, all that
I mean,
bad
you
stuff.
I
can
can't do it.
recycle, but
I can't do a Mr. Mackey voice. Someone do it for me.
Right, there is recycling, but do all people recycle?
I got a recycling plant that gives me money, so yes, I do.
Good for you.
You know how many, because every time I replace brakes on a car or I replace really any part that's made out of any sort of metal, I'll take it and I have a whole pile filled with just parts ready to bring to the recycling plant.
Yeah, and that's good. That's really good. And Cece, I'm with you. We found out that, yep, Callie, you are right. But we found out that, yeah, we recycle, but the apartment complex puts it all in the same spot. So we're like trying to deal with that. Okay, I'm going to pause just for a second. I have some superstars in this class who are amazing and who are, know their stuff, definitely. I'm going to pause you there, even though that writing is just gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Super gorgeous. And even though that looks really cool, but what's happening with the pattern on the screen is that Jen stares at that instead of the work. So thank you. Yeah, let's do this first. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to solve square root equations. And I love what someone did is I like to take a line and drop it underneath the equal sign because it helps see both sides of the equation. I love that. Very good. Very, very good. So when we do equation solving, we want to get x by itself, and we do that by reversing all of the operations. And the opposite of squaring is square rooting. So what we're going to do is a lot of people think that. A lot of people take that x squared as 2x, but it is different because 2x means you're multiplying by 2, but what does squaring mean? What do you multiply by?
The number itself.
Right. You're taking the number and you're multiplying it by itself. So we want to unmultiply by itself. And the way we do that is we square root. Right, because the coefficient here actually is 1, yeah. So we would square root it. Yup. So then the square root of x squared, that cancels out, and that just gives you x. But what's the square root of 196? We would definitely want to calculate that, unless you know it. In which case, that's awesome. I am all about that. But if you don't know it, I'm going to throw out my awesome. Isabel says 14. Awesome. Thank you. But I'm going to put in the link.
Again?
What is the square root of 196? And I'm going to refer you guys, especially my new friends, to the scientific calculator of Desmos. Because
oh yeah, dominoes.
Desmos. So we're going to type in 196 and we get 14. But don't forget, technically, don't feel attacked. No, you shouldn't.
Oh, we can turn into the Khan Academy guy. No.
You were right. It is 14. And also, technically, what works as well? 14 and... Oh, CC, sorry. I should never mess with pizza. Negative 14. Good job, Callie. You are so right. That's right. So 14 or negative 14. So the whole goal of solving equations with squaring is to get it so it just has x squared and then take that square root. So we're going to have to do some rearranging over here first before we can get it to where the x squared is by itself. What would I do first? What can I kind of scooch I like that step. We're going to divide by 3, but we don't want to do that first. We always want to move over that constant first. Yeah, very good. We don't want to square root yet because we got to get the x squared by itself. But look at how our person in green here said we add 33. Yep, we want to add 33. So we're always going to move that constant over to the other side first. And we do it by doing the opposite. We had minus 33, so we add 33. Good. Now what would we do? Now we're going to divide by 3. Yup, definitely. And we get x squared is equal to 11. And now we're ready to cancel out that squared by doing the square root. Yes, very good. And you're going to get a decimal here. So what we would actually do is we would just leave it as the square root of 11. And since that can be positive or negative, you would say also the negative square root of 11. Nice job. That was good. Good teamwork there, guys. Seriously, good work. So sometimes if you get a very irrational number, so like we would, if we typed in Desmos, the square root of 11, guys, see how that's this crazy decimal? 3.16, blah, 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 blah. Since it's irrational, we would just leave it as the square root of 11.
Okay, maybe I should use Desmos because I can't find the square root on my computer calculator.
Yeah, I really recommend Desmos because you type it in exactly as it looks. It's pretty helpful. cool. Anybody have questions on that?
I have no idea.
No idea if you have questions?
I have no idea what you're doing.
Right here. What part, and I love that feedback, that's okay too. What part didn't make sense? Was it the
Wait.
Once you get to the square rooting part, and then
Okay, so
if you're talking about the answer, that square root of 11, it's because there's no number that can times itself to get 11.
right. Yeah, or the number that you do multiply by itself is a decimal. So this part is just a calculation in the calculator. And since we got a decimal, instead of that, we're just going to leave it. So we'll leave it kind of uncalculated just so that we don't get that decimal. But the whole goal here, and like I said, you guys who are just joining or who haven't been to a live session, you know, your brain might not be in equation solving mode, and that's okay. And that's where I can come in and I can totally meet with you and we can go through equations and make sure you're good to go. Because I'm happy to do that.
So we're talking about once we get x to the square thing, then you square root it, and
Right.
x becomes 1 or something, and then you square root the other. Okay.
Yeah,
Ow.
so the whole objective is whatever we want this. We want to see x squared equals some number, because then we can just square root each side to get the answer.
I am a completely developed person. I still have oil candles in my house.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Winter math, that's the answer. Yep. So you might have to rearrange the equation like we did over here to get x squared equals some number. Okay, so like we moved over the constant first by doing the opposite, and then we divided the coefficient.
Yeah, I understand that part. It's just the square root part. I've done other equations, but
Gotcha.
Square root.
Gotcha. Yep, so just get it to x squared equals and then square root it. Oh my gosh, Cece, I'm the same way.
You do everything else, and then you do that. Once you get down to just x squared, you
Square root.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. So like you might even have an equation like this. Okay, and see, this one looks a little weird. Thank you for doing that, Cece. Thank you. So this one looks like you have a constant, but see how that constant is inside the squared? Since we just have squared, now we can square root it. So we would not, I know you guys are thinking we should subtract 7, but that 7 is in the squared. And we wouldn't distribute. Great question. Yeah, but see how it's separate with that equal sign? Since it's just a squared, we can definitely square root both sides. So if we square root both sides, we're going to end up with two equations, which is kind of weird. And we couldn't combine it because we have an x and a 7 that are separate. Yeah, we would square root both sides to get rid of that squared. So if you only have a squared, square root it. If it looked like this, then we would subtract that 7 first. But since we have just a squared there, since that 7 is inside the squared, then we can square root it. So we get 5 is equal to x plus 7. It gets rid of that squared. But remember, when we square root something, you can get a positive 5. You can also get what?
A negative vibe?
A negative 5, yeah.
Oh, I said vibe.
Oh, vibe. It sounded like I said vibe when I said positive vibe. It totally did.
At first I didn't really get it,
Vibing.
but then now I understand.
It makes
I'm
sense,
still
yeah.
kind of confused.
Does it matter if you use a positive or negative when you square root?
You actually want to do both. Yeah, that's a great question. So like in the other ones, it didn't really matter. Over here it kind of mattered because remember how we said the answer to this first one? Really clear that. Remember how we said the answer to, oh, I know. No, it's okay. Ask questions. If it doesn't make sense, that's okay. That's what my job is. So, it's okay to not get it. Totally fine. We will work with you. But remember how let's not scribble on the screen though. Yeah. That might be some frustration coming out. I got you. But yeah, so we're going to take the square root of this side. And then remember how we said it was positive 14 and negative 14? That's where that negative comes in. And then this one, we did our rearranging and we ended up with positive square root of 11 or negative square root of 11.
So does it matter?
It matters because you do have two ways the answer could be. In this one, it just affects the answer. But in this other one, it kind of affects the way you solve it. Because in this one, the order is a little bit different. Since that plus 7 is inside the squared, we actually square root first. And since we square root first, you can either have a positive 5 or a negative 5.
How do you know which one to choose?
You're going to do both of them. Oh, that's nice. Nice, Dad, there. So
you write down both of them?
You write down both of them, yeah, because now
you
we're going to
solve it both ways then?
Yes, you do. Great question. You're going to
So you'll have two answers?
Yep. With squared questions, you'll have two answers. Good. Yeah, the answers are going to be different. So now we got rid of the squared. So that's why we had to do that one first, because there was the squared on there. So now we're going to get rid of that constant to get x by itself. So we subtract 7 on both of them, and we end up with negative 2 over here. And then this one's negative 5 minus 7. What does that give us? What's negative 5? Over here, it was just 5 minus 7, which was negative 2. What about negative 5 minus 7? What would that one be? Yeah, negative 12, right. Yep. And it's fine if you use a calculator to help with that, because your brain is thinking equation steps. So I do not have a problem with you calculating the actual addition or subtraction. That's fine. You do what you got to do.
Do you have anything against calculators?
Nope. Calculators, tests? Nope. You are allowed to use calculators for tests. Definitely.
Okay.
Because
my teachers hated them.
Oh gosh. That's what you're going to do with this stuff in real life. If you're actually going to do something like this in your job someday, you're going to be putting it in a computer.
Yeah, because it basically makes no sense not to use a calculator in middle school.
Right.
Because I heard from my other brothers and my sister that they get to use a calculator in high school and in college.
Right.
7th and 6th grade, our teacher had us wait till after Halloween to use calculators.
Oh, weird.
What doesn't make sense is because they teach this in a job, I'd rather use a calculator because I would think I'd make a mistake. There's a better chance of the calculator not making a mistake and not me.
Right. And you know what? You guys have to know the process. So you have to, it's important to know those things because it does go quicker if you know it as opposed to your calculator. But now we're getting into an algebraic process. So it's more important that you know how to undo these equations instead of all of the integer rules and all of that stuff. It's still important to know your integers. It really is. You guys got to know when we have two negatives here, you're going to get more negative. And it's actually quicker just to do that math instead of checking it. But if you need to check it, go for it. If integers are not your strong point, that doesn't mean you should, have issues with equation solving too. It's okay. That's what it's there for. I am all about it. But I just want you guys to get, if you see the squared, if everything's being squared, you got to undo that squared first. And then you actually have two different possibilities. So just remember those two equations. And Math Excel will remind you if you forget that. That's what's pretty cool about it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure if you put one answer instead of another, I think it'll still accept it.
Well, it'll say that it's wrong, and then if you read the description, it'll say why it's wrong. It'll say, remember, there's two possibilities there.
The program's a little bit picky.
Yeah, it is picky. Yup. It surely is. So great questions with that. So now, if we want to undo the square roots, it's a little bit easier because when you undo square roots, you don't really have to worry about that two-case thing because we're going to end up doing the opposite of square rooting, which is what? What's the opposite of square rooting? What do you guys think? Squaring. Yeah, squaring. So in this one, we're just going to focus on that squaring first because there's a big square root on the left side. So since it's all under the square root, I have to square both sides to get rid of that square root. And anything square rooted that's being squared is just going to cancel it out. So you'll get 5x plus 4 is equal to 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. So in that one, you want to square it first. And now we're going to do our two-step equation solving. What would I do first to solve that equation?
You would do this if there's a square root present in the problem. You do that first, and then you do the equation.
Right. You're right. Very good. And we would subtract that 4. Yup. And you'd get your 5x is equal to 5. And then you would divide by 5. You divide by that coefficient. Good stuff. And you get 1. Well, we wouldn't say x because you wouldn't, if your answer was 1x for some reason. Oh, that's good. If your answer was 1x, then your answer could be x. But in this case, there's no variable here. The answer is just going to be 1. Yeah, so it would just be the 1. Good question. Nope. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad. Yeah.
How
now
did someone come up with x as an answer?
Well, I think what they're doing is they're thinking of the fact that when you have an x, the coefficient of that x is 1. So I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. But since we're not saying the answer is x, it's just that 1. Yeah, and it's good. It's good questions. I like that. Nope. Big brain. Big brain. Okay, now next one. So in the next one, look at how we don't have just a square root on that left side. We got to move something to the other side first. What are we going to move? Yeah, because we want to just square that. You're totally right. So what are we going to move to the other side? The 4. Yep. And how do we move it? Since we have a positive 4, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. Right. Good. Very, very good. So we would have 2 on the right side, and then we would have that square root of x plus 9 on the other side. Good. I like it. Good stuff, you guys. Both of yous guys, you got it. So now we just have the square root of that x plus 9 left. Now we're all set to do what to both sides? To square it. Yep. Now we're all set to square it. And I like to kind of add it on what we did up here. And we want to make sure that we put parentheses around it and square the whole thing. And we got to do it to both sides there. So when we square that square root of x plus 9, you're just going to get x plus 9. And then when you square the 2, it's the same as 2 times 2, which is 4. And then we're going to get rid of that constant. We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. And we get our final answer of x is equal to -5. Yep, you guys are right. Good job. Very good. Very good. So when you have to square both sides to get rid of a square root, you'll have one answer. But if you have to square root, like we did in the other ones, you'll have 2 possibilities. Very interesting. Good stuff. All right, we're going to kind of skip this one just for timely purposes here. So this kind of relates to absolute value equations. Do you guys remember absolute value? So like if I said, what is the absolute value of -4? What would you tell me? 4. Yeah, good. And what's the absolute value of 4? Also 4. Very good. Yeah, absolute value is a distance away from 0 on the number line. So now when you solve absolute value equations, it's like in this case, we're saying what number has a distance of 8? Yeah, it only changes if it's a negative. Yeah, so you guys are saying 8. But there's 2 choices here, right? Because 8 has a distance of 8 on the number line, but what number also has a distance of 8?
-8.
-8. You're right. Very good. So you'll have, again, 2 cases with absolute value equations. You'll have a negative and a positive case. Right. So if it's just a simple absolute value equation like this, you would just say 8 or -8. And then you're done. You don't have to do anything. So, but positive and negative. Yeah. Ooh, I like how this person wrote their and sign. I like that. Yeah. Lazy math. Yep. It's your quick one-word answers there, or one number answers there, rather. Good. Now, it only is a little different when you have more stuff in there. So again, you want to make sure that when you, oh, sorry, thank you. I like that one better. That's good. Yep. When you have only absolute value on the left, then you can write your 2 cases. So sometimes you'll have like 2x minus 5 plus 2, and you'll have to do the same thing as the other one. You'll have to move that 2 over. But we don't have that here. We have just absolute value. So we're going to write our 2 cases. We're going to have one case where it stays positive, and then one case where your answer would be a negative. Because you could have a positive or a negative number that has the same distance on the number line. And then you're just going to solve like a regular 2-step equation, right? You would add 5 to both sides.
So when it's just absolute value, you write out the 2 variants.
Right.
And then solve them.
Good word, yeah.
Dang, is Annabelle's computer still updating?
Oh, is she not on yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, Annabelle, I apologize. We miss you, Annabelle. She'll watch the recording. It's okay. I will put it on Moodle right away. And guys, if you're new to us, whenever you miss a live session, I'll put the recording right on Moodle. So all you got to do is watch it and then just send me some sort of a summary. Good. So our first answer would be 11. What about our second case here? Yep, you would still add 5 to both sides. It's just going to change slightly. So you'd have 2x is equal to -12. Yep. And then you divide by 2.
-6.
So you get -6. Very good. So with absolute value equations, you'll have 2 answers again. So you'll have 6 or -6, excuse me, or 11. Excellent work, you guys. Good stuff. All right. So now this one is kind of similar to what we were talking about before, but we're not ready to write our two cases yet, right? Because we're going to have to move something over so we can write our two cases. Yep, we're going to move over that positive 4. You're so right. And how would I do that? We're going to subtract 4. Yep. Yeah, and don't be confused. I know there's 2 4s in this one. You're going to move the 4 over that's not in the absolute value symbol. Yep, so you still have absolute value of 3x minus 4. And it's equal to 5. Now we're going to make our two cases. And we're going to have two equations. And then when you write your two equations, this gets rid of those absolute value symbols. So you'll have 3x minus 4 is equal to 5, or 3x minus 4 is equal to negative 5. And I always get confused on what turns negative. It's always your answer that could be positive or negative.
How did we get to 5?
5, because up here, good question, we moved the 4 that was not in the absolute value symbol, we moved it to the other side. Yep. And we had a positive 4, so we subtracted 4 from both sides. And 9 minus 4 is 5.
So you first solve the equation that way.
Right. Whatever.
You solve the equation completely?
No, it's whatever is not in the absolute value symbol has to be solved. You know what I mean?
Okay, so if there's just absolute value, just go with that. But if there's something outside, do that and then.
And then the absolute value. Great. Seriously, good work. Yeah, no, this is good. And I like how someone's writing the cases down here. It's really good to see how everybody is kind of processing it. That's so good. The only thing I want to adjust is right here. I think the person got confused because we have a fraction here, actually. So see how right here, they very correctly divided by 3? That means our answer, since 3 is on the bottom, you would say x is equal to negative 1/3. You just got to leave it as a fraction. Good job, guys. Other questions on this? I love Pickle Rick. He gets swifty. You guys are awesome. Great questions. Great work. Okay. So now the only other thing, gotta get swifty. Oh my goodness. The only other thing that you guys will have to do with this is rearranging an equation to solve for a certain variable. This will help when we are graphing equations later. Not right now. Because the rules are the same. The rules are totally the same. So if we have this equation here, 5a plus 7 equals that's funny. Okay. If we want to, if they're going to tell me to solve for a.
I mean, I have the complete answer.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll resort to you in just a second there. If they want us to solve for a, they want us to get that a by itself. So we want it to be in a equals mode. We don't want it to be in b equals mode. So the rules are exactly the same. It's just that we're not going to be combining anything because we have two variables. So what would I do first to start solving for a? I would subtract 7, right? Yep, and here's where the confusion is. Very good. I love how you wrote that. It wouldn't be negative 7b because we can't actually combine them. You would just leave it as b minus 7. Yeah, and you'd think, yeah, I see that. That's logical. Yeah, to the way that you guys are thinking, it totally makes sense. But we would just leave it next to each other. It's like lazy math. You don't combine it, you just put it next to each other. Very good. Yep, so 5a is b minus 7. And then what would I do to get rid of that 5? We would still divide by 5. You're right. And then we're not going to combine it. So we would say our final answer is what?
B minus 7 over 5.
Right. Is that what you got initially?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And the whole thing would be over 5. Because it's kind of weird, but when you have b over 5, what this actually means is 1/5 times b. That's what that means. Because that's where that coefficient of 1 comes in. Yeah, but you can just leave it as b minus 7 over 5. That's fine. That's good.
I turned myself into a pickle, Morty!
You guys. Pickle Rick! I love that. I love Rick and Morty. They're the best. Okay, so another show you guys might like if you like Rick and Morty. I don't know if you've seen Gravity Falls. It's on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, they put the producer's name into one of the parts in Gravity Falls.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really good. I like it.
I can play the song on piano.
I've never watched either of those shows.
Oh, you gotta watch Rick and Morty, bro. It's so good.
Oh,
Isn't it kind of inappropriate?
A little bit.
It is. Yes, it is.
A little bit, but Pickle Rick.
It is inappropriate. That's why I won't let my son watch it because he.
Wait, it's the best part. You mean South Park? South Park's the best. I love South Park. My mom
South
doesn't
Park's
though.
good. I don't like South Park. It's too crude.
That's what it's designed for though. They like to push the envelope.
I'm not allowed to watch that stuff for good reasons.
Yeah.
Or horror movies.
Oh, my favorite scene is Randy Savage. They make a joke about Randy Savage. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Watch
Yeah,
it,
everybody's got their own family rules and stuff. We watch, my husband and I watch that stuff, but we don't let my kids watch it. My daughter could probably handle it when she's that age, but my son cannot.
Well, I don't. Oh, wait, 1 second. I will never get. This scene will never get old.
The payoff is huge. I turned myself into a pickle, Morty!
I just like how he turns him. Out of all things, he decides
to be a pickle. Yeah, why not? Sure. Pickle Rick. I know, it's hilarious. Okay, last example here, guys. This is the last one, and then we are all done. So this one would be very similar to the graphing ones that we would see. So we would need to solve for y here. Okay. So, and this is exactly what you'll have to do when we're graphing. And we're just going to rearrange it to get that y by itself. So just like kind of if you had variables on both sides, we always want to move over the term that's separated by that operation symbol. We want to move that one over first. So how would I move this 8x, the whole thing, not just the 8? Yeah, and if I divided by 8, that's logical, but that would be moving just the 8 over. We want to move the whole thing.
Should we divide by 8x?
You'd think so, but what the opposite is we actually have a positive 8x here. So what's the opposite of positive 8x?
Negative 8x.
Negative 8x. Yeah, you would actually subtract 8x from both sides. And that's because, remember, with these equations, the first step is always an addition or subtraction step. Yeah, and then you would just write 16 minus 8x. You're right. If sometimes they like you to have that 8x first, if you had 8x first, it would be negative 8x plus 16. But they mean the same thing. And I like that this person, Cece, when you did it, very good, you brought that negative down. That's very good. And now what would we do to get rid of that negative 4? You'd think we'd add 4. But what's the opposite of multiplying by negative 4?
Divide negative 4.
Divide by negative 4. Now it's okay to just get rid of that -4 because we want y equals.
So 16 minus 8x over -4.
Yeah, and the tricky thing about this one is we could actually simplify it a little bit because both of these numbers can divide by -4. So what would I get if I did 16 divided by -4?
4 minus -2x.
Yeah, very good, because if you divided each one, 16 divided by -4 is -4. And then -8 divided by -4 would be positive 2x. So we would have -4 plus 2x or 2x minus 4. And that would be just because we did the actual division. So when both of them divide evenly, you can write it like that. Good stuff, guys. Excellent work. Super smart. Big brains all around. Big brains. But that is all I have for you. All I have for today. If you would like to schedule some time with me next week, I'd be happy to schedule with you.
Wait, listen.
Oh, yeah.
What? Listen to this. Wait.